I, 20, female, recently gave birth to a beautiful baby girl named Olivia, fake name. Her father is not in the picture, but I was determined to have her and raise her in the best way I could. I will admit that my pregnancy wasn't intended, and my parents were initially shocked and quite angry with me. But eventually, they mellowed out and were quite supportive when I had to move back home because I couldn't afford to live by myself and take care of a baby. My mom took me to the doctor's appointments, and my dad paid for a lot of stuff. I have been working at a retail store and saving money so that I can eventually move out and start my own life with Olivia. Everything was going all and well until my daughter turned 1. It all happened with small things when they started to control every little thing that Olivia did, including what she ate, what she wore, with whom she met, etc. At first, I didn't think much of it and thought it was just grandparents being overprotective of their first granddaughter. Then, my mom started commenting on my weight. I had gained a lot of weight during my pregnancy. I used to be around 160 pounds, but now I'm 230 pounds. And even though I do want to lose this weight, between my job and taking care of Olivia, I don't have the time to exercise. And I have also developed the habit of eating my comfort foods whenever I feel stressed. So whenever I started to eat a snack, my mom would come and say things like, "Haven't you had enough?" Or, "Do you really need that showing on your body?" Sometimes my dad would even join and tell me how burdensome it has been for him to have me here. I try my best to contribute, but raising a daughter on my salary doesn't leave anything much for me. I do help with the chores around the house and bring groceries sometimes, but other than that, I don't have any money left to help them out. My parents have always been kind of passive aggressive with me, and my oldest sister, female 26, let's call her Rachel. As soon as we both turned 18, we moved out of the house. Rachel went across the country and now lives in San Diego. She and I have been in touch, but she has minimal contact with our parents and only comes home once a year during the holidays. The last time she came was when Olivia was born, and she left after 2 days. So I didn't have any option other than sometimes listening to their passive aggressive comments in turn for a roof over my and my daughter's heads. However, things took a turn for the worse when they started to have control over Olivia's life to the point where it got dangerous for her. My mother recently got involved in this sort of club, or you might call it a kiddie club, with a few women of similar age in the neighborhood. They all get together every evening at the house of one of the women and talk for an hour or two. At first, I was happy that my mom would be distracted with them and wouldn't bother me that much. But the way she's been acting since she got involved in the group has made things a lot worse for me. She has started to police everything I do for myself and my daughter, including what I wear, what I make my daughter wear, what I eat, and what my daughter eats. She bought this quick weight loss supplement from I don't know where, and she tells me to eat it twice a day. Last week, she got these button-down dresses for Olivia. I usually dress her in shorts and crop shirts because it is very hot where we live. Making her wear these button-down dresses will make her feel very hot and sweat a lot. She often would talk about Olivia's face, telling me how I was feeding her a lot and causing her face to get fat. For me, the last straw was yesterday when I was supposed to take Olivia for her vaccination appointment, and my mother refused to let me go. She said that she had been learning about this and it's not safe to inject children with these chemicals we know nothing about. She went as far as to hide my car keys. I was not having it, and I told her that the health of my daughter is not something that I want to argue about with her. I am her mother, and I know what's best for my daughter. When she still didn't give me the car keys, I booked a cab and left. When I came back home, neither my mom nor my dad were talking to me. In the evening, I went to the kitchen and started cooking, but still my mom didn't say a word to me. The whole dinner, All I could hear was the chewing sounds my dad made. But as soon as I was done and about to leave the table, my mom told me to wait as they had something to say to me. They told me that I was not taking proper care of my daughter and that if I wanted to live in their house, I needed to raise my daughter as per their values and system, or else they would make me give up Olivia. It took me a moment to take in what they were trying to tell me. They also said that since I don't know how to take care of my daughter, so it would be best if I gave her up for adoption, as that way she would end up with a family who actually cares about her. I couldn't believe what they had said to me, and I exploded. I asked them, how could they say that I don't care about my daughter when everything that I've been doing is to ensure that she has a better life? And the idea of giving up for adoption is something that she never ever thought would come from their mouths. I was pretty clear that I was not going to give up my daughter no matter what they said or did. This was when my dad decided to chime in and say that since I was living in their house, they should have some say in how my daughter was raised. Now, my emotions were all over the place, and I was feeling so betrayed by what they had suggested that I ended up saying a lot of things that I'm not sure if I should have said. As soon as my dad said that he and my mom should have some say in how my daughter is raised, I told him why. It's not like you guys did a great job the first time around. My mom then asked me what I meant by that. I said, the reason why Rachel, my sister, lives across the country and only comes once a year is because she can't stand you both. She hates you guys so much that she didn't even invite you to her wedding. This is when I knew I had gone too far. Not because my parents didn't deserve it, but because Rachel trusted me not to tell this. So my sister got married about 2 years ago. She didn't have a big ceremony and got married in court. The reason why she didn't tell my parents was because she honestly just didn't care and didn't want them telling her that getting married in court was a bad decision. She did tell me beforehand and promised to not tell mom and dad. I know I was wrong in telling my parents this, as this wasn't my secret to tell. The moment I told them that they weren't invited to her wedding, their jaws dropped, and they asked me what I meant by that. I was in shock myself as to what I had done. I couldn't say a word and went straight to my room and called Rachel. I told her everything that had happened, how I blurted it out and how sorry I was. She was angry at me, and even more so at my parents for suggesting that I give up my daughter, and told me to wait as she is coming home this weekend. I know what I did was wrong, but I didn't have any bad intentions behind it. It all happened in the heat of the moment, but I still feel really guilty, so AITH? And if yes, how big of an a-hole am I for telling about my sister's life to my parents? Update 1. So it's been 3 days and I thought that I should give you guys an update. The whole atmosphere in the house has changed. My parents haven't talked to me or seen Olivia at all. I have been dropping Olivia at my friend's place while going to work and picking her up on the way back because I don't trust my parents with her anymore. Last night when I came back, I saw that my mom had made dinner, but there was none for me. In hindsight, I should have expected that. My sister is coming tomorrow and we are going to get everything straightened out soon. Update 2. My sister Rachel came last night and I have so many updates for you. From the moment she entered the door, I swear, if it were medically possible, my mom would have had smoke coming out of her ears. One of the first things that she said as my sister put her foot in the door was, "Here comes the prodigal daughter." Anyways, she put her bags down and immediately came to my room to check on me and Olivia. After I assured her that we were doing okay, we both went down and sat in the living room. She told my parents that she knows that what you found out must have been quite a shock. It wasn't her intention to hurt them, but she didn't want any drama on her big day. As she was getting married in court, she didn't want them judging her choices or making comments about how they didn't get to fulfill their dreams of how they wanted their daughter's wedding to be. She didn't want our mom to say things about her body, her choice of husband, or any of the 1,000 other things that she knew our mom would have found fault in. My parents weren't having it at all, and they started screaming at her, talking about how it was so embarrassing for them to find out that their daughter had been married to me, and that too, 2 years later. My dad was mostly quiet during this, and Mom was crying and yelling. They told her that since my sister didn't have any guilt of not inviting her or even telling them about her wedding, it was clear that she didn't want them in her life and asked her to never come back again. This is when my sister broke down and tears started to roll down her eyes. All this time I was standing in the corner of the room not knowing what to do, as all of this was my fault. Rachel told my parents that even if we put aside what she did for a moment, what they said to me about making me give up Olivia was completely out of line. They said that giving up Olivia for adoption would be a good thing, seeing how me and Rachel turned out. Rachel said that if they felt this way, then she didn't want to leave me and Olivia with them. She told me to start packing my bags as Olivia and I will be going with her. I was shocked at the moment because even though my sister and I have been close, I would never have imagined that she would do this for me. I immediately went up and started packing my bags. I put some clothes and other essentials for Olivia and myself and came down about 15 minutes later. Throughout this time, I didn't hear anything other than a pin-drop silence. Neither my parents nor my sister had said a single word to each other. I put some of my stuff in my sister's car and the rest is mine. I told my parents that I would come back to pack up the rest of my stuff soon. Rachel, Olivia, and I left and stayed at the local motel for the weekend, and she assured me that I don't have to worry about anything and she will be with me every step of the way. And then she hit me with another big news. As it turns out, my sister is 3 months pregnant. They don't know the gender of the baby yet, but my sister and brother-in-law are really looking forward to having a kid. My sister told me that I could stay with her and her husband until I could afford a place of my own. I'm uprooting my life and it is scary, but I think it will be the best for me and Olivia to get away from everything and start a new life. Update 3. Boy, do I have an update for you guys. So my sister left the next day and told me that she would make sure that the home was ready for me and the baby. I spent the next 2 weeks at the motel itself and my friend helped me out with Olivia. I put in my notice and started looking for movers. I called my mom and told her that I would be coming on Saturday to pack all my and Olivia's stuff and the movers would be there on Sunday. Big mistake. When I reached their house today, they weren't there. Thankfully, I still had the key, so I let myself in. I went up to my room and I found that my room was almost empty. All of my stuff is gone. There were no clothes in the closet, the entire bookshelf was empty, my drawers had been emptied out, and even the small boxes that I had under my bed weren't there. I was confused. But even then, I knew in my heart what had happened, that my parents had given my stuff away. I kept calling my mom and dad, but none of them picked up. I remember that sometimes during the evening my mom would visit one of her kitty club members in the neighborhood, so I started calling every one of them. And guess what? She was there. She told me that she didn't need to move her schedule to accommodate me and she would be there in a few hours. I asked her where all of my stuff was and she told me that my stuff was actually paid for by my parents and they thought that it was well within their rights to sell it. I was furious at this point. All of my stuff, all of my memories, everything was gone. They had even sold Olivia's crib and her toys. I didn't know what to do at this point. I started yelling at her, telling her how she is the worst mom in the world, and it's because of her that I have had such a messed up life. I cut the call and started crying audibly. I was a complete mess at the moment, and I didn't call Rachel because I didn't want to stress her out. I just came back to the motel and cried in the room. I didn't want to cry in front of Olivia, but I couldn't stop myself. I looked at her and think about how a mother can actually do this to her daughter. I love her so much and think about my relationship with my mom and how much it disgusts me at the moment. How can she be so cruel and vicious? Anyway, I wanted to let it all out, so I'm writing this update while crying on my bed. Some of you guys wanted to know the type of things that my parents would do in our childhood, so I'm going to give you a few highlights. 1. We weren't allowed to shut our doors, ever. They always felt strongly about my house, my rules. 2. My sister and I were constantly being criticized about our looks, our weight, how we weren't behaving like proper women, and how we needed to change ourselves to behave like proper ladies of society. 3. My dad didn't say or do any of these things, but he never stopped Mom either. In fact, if anything would happen, he would always take her side and tell us to listen to her as she knows best. 4. My mom had this weirdest form of punishment. Whenever Rachel or I used to mess up, she would make sure that no one in the home talked to us. It was like we were shunned by everyone in the house. If Rachel made a mistake, I wasn't allowed to talk to her and vice versa. It might not seem like much, but for a teenager, this was truly heartbreaking. 5. My mom would never hesitate to slut shame us. Even if we were just friends with a boy or dressed up in anything that she considered to be provocative, she would scream at us and even call us obscene things. So yeah, these are a few things that Rachel and I had to endure while growing up. Update 5. It's been a week since I finally moved into my sister's home. My sister had set up the guest room and even brought a lot of stuff for Olivia. This is when I finally told her about what happened with the movers and my stuff. She was so angry and wanted to call and yell at our parents, but I told her that it didn't matter anymore. In a way, it is a good thing that they took all of the stuff, as it would have been just one more thread connecting me to them. She told me that she would take me shopping this weekend and get me whatever I needed. My brother-in-law is also extremely supportive. They both had talked it over and they told me that I could work at his restaurant as a waitress until I found something that I wanted to do. I was so happy and so relaxed because I had been stressing about finding a new job. I thanked them both and told them I would do whatever I could to repay them for all their kindness. If I'm being honest, I know there is nothing that I can do that will be equivalent to what they have done for me and my daughter. My sister took me to shop for a few clothes and get some stuff for Olivia. She didn't let me pay for anything even though I begged her 1,000 times. We got some toys for Olivia and a few other everyday items. I have been working at my brother-in-law's restaurant for 3 days now and I love it. It's a very upscale dining place and even though I am still in training, I can tell that working here is going to be great. I just hope that I can save enough money to move out of my sister's place and find one of my own. I haven't had any contact with my parents. They haven't called me and I haven't tried to get in touch with them either. It's a bittersweet feeling because even though I am happy that I got out of that toxic place, it still hurts. But I know that I will be better. I have to for Olivia, my sister and my brother-in-law, my new family. Update 6. Well, my parents finally contacted me. They called me from an unknown number and so I picked it up. Hearing my dad's voice on the other side of the phone nearly froze me. He asked me how Olivia and I were doing. I told him that we were doing well despite what they had done. Yeah, I was still pissed about them selling my stuff. He told me that what happened was in the heat of the moment and they would never do anything to hurt their children and grandchildren. I asked him where this care was when they were threatening to give my daughter up for adoption. He didn't respond to this and just said that he wanted to see his granddaughter. I almost chuckled and told him that he wasn't seeing Olivia in this lifetime. He said that no matter what happens, he is still Olivia's grandfather and he has the right to see her. I told him that he lost that right the moment he had the thought of putting Olivia up for adoption. I couldn't take it anymore and I cut the call. I went straight to the bathroom and started crying. After I calmed down a little, I told Rachel and she just held me. She told me that everything was going to be fine and even if my daughter didn't have her grandparents in her life, she was going to have a wonderful mother and a loving auntie and uncle. My sister and brother-in-law have been so supportive throughout this. Not only do they take rent from me, but they have also refused to let me pay for food, utilities, or anything else. They have even tried to pay for Olivia's stuff by saying that they want me to save money quickly and get out of their house soon, jokingly. They have already done so much for me, and I don't even know how to repay them. I try to do the chores around the house as much as I can and make food whenever I can. Rachel and Olivia have gotten quite close as well. I can't wait to meet my niece. Yes, it's going to be a girl. So that all of our family can finally be together and happy. Update 7. This is going to be the final update from me, guys, until something wild happens. I have finally moved out of my sister's house. It's a good thing too, because she is going to have her baby soon and she will need all the space she has. But I am still living close by and plan to help her out whenever she can. I am still working at my brother-in-law's restaurant and it has been going great. I've made a few friends and life has started to get normal for me. My parents tried to contact me several times from different numbers too, because I kept blocking them. I think they might have been using their friends' mobile phones to call me. The times I have picked up, all there has been is just more crying and yelling, often on both sides. I might be willing to forgive them in the future, but I am just not at that place at the moment. Even if I could forgive them for everything they did to me while growing up, I cannot forgive them for trying to control my daughter's life and even threatening to take her away from me. For now, all of my time and energy needs to go towards building a better life for myself and Olivia. She's all that matters now. Thank you to everyone for their support and wonderful comments. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.